Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. Today's subject is punk rock and the influences that came from it. So in 1984, the Unicorn opened in the Sydney High building on 3rd and Juno in Milwaukee's downtown area. The Sydney High hosted many punk rock groups throughout its years until it closed in 1997. The Sydney High building was a mixture of restaurants, stores, and also residential apartments inside the building. They hosted a Thai restaurant at one time, a Mexican restaurant, an adult bookstore, and a bead store. One of the bands that came through frequently was Social Distortion, which started out in the 1970s in California, and they frequently played throughout Milwaukee, also at the Eagles Club, and also later at the Bradley Center and the Odd Rack Cafe. A group of youth from the suburbs of Milwaukee formed small gangs in 1987, 1988. One of the first was the Brew City Skins, which was a group of non-racist skinheads that consisted of white, Latino, and black youth and teenagers. Another group that came at the same time was the Skinhead Army of Milwaukee, which was a neo-Nazi racist group, and later became part of the Northern Hammerskins chapter of racist skinheads and part of the larger Hammerskin Nation. These two groups fought each other whenever possible at some of these punk rock shows and also different areas. They both hung out in the River West area of Milwaukee and later on the east side of Milwaukee, notably on Downer Avenue, North Avenue, and Brady Street on the lower east side of Milwaukee. The Brew City Skins were allied with other groups around the time, including Black and Latino gangs and other non-racist skinheads across the Midwest, and formed a group called SHARP, or Skinheads Against Racial Prejudice. So they were definitely more numerous than the Nazi racist skinheads. And the reason you could tell the difference was the Nazi skinheads wore Confederate patches and also red shoelaces or red suspenders as part of their attire. Although both had shaved heads, flight jackets, and wore Doc Marten boots, and often colored and wore black clothing. These two groups fought at the Downer Festival in 1988, 1989. They fought at the Eagles Club on 24th in Wisconsin in 1990 after a Social Distortion concert. They also fought at the Odd Rack Cafe. And later, as I said, at the Sydney High building, Unicorn Club. Both gangs kind of phased out by the end of the 1990s, as most going separate ways. A lot of the Brew City skinheads got into hip hop, got into other genres of music or art. And both groups both had families, began having families, children, being married, getting jobs. So it kind of phased out of the whole skinhead scene. But this was part of a big scene in Milwaukee in the 1980s and early to mid 1990s. So if you know anything about the history, like, comment, subscribe, share what you know. See you next time.